Good day there viewers, and welcome to my channel called Vintage Time. I'm certainly glad that you can join me for another episode of Gemstone Faceting, and in this episode I will be featuring lemon quartz from South America, and I will be faceting a bar design. I would personally like to thank John from the USA for sending me this wonderful piece of lemon quartz. So a big hello to you, John, and hopefully you get to see this video and watch what type of gem I cut from this piece of quartz. It wasn't too long ago I faceted a piece of lemon quartz which came from Africa, and it had a slightly lighter colour, and what I'll do, I'll drop in a photo so you can see what it looks like, the difference in colours. So this particular piece of lemon quartz is large enough to facet 2 gems out of, and I've marked out the shapes roughly of what they will be. So let's get on to just slicing this piece of quartz and we'll move on to the preform. So the preforming is now complete, and I got 2 different shapes out of the original rough, a square and a heart shape. Originally I thought I might have got a circular shape, but after I did the preforming it turned out it was better that I shaped it into a heart. So I will be faceting a square. So let's move on to the design elements of the bar design that I'll be cutting. So here is the schematic design of the particular gem I'll be faceting, called the Easy Opposed Square, and it was designed by a well-known designer called Voltellini, and you can download this design from the Gemology project. To give you a better perspective of what this gem looks like in the 3-dimensional form, here is a 3D computer generated graphic of the gem once completed. I will also drop in a computer generated GIF that is rendered, so it gives you an idea of the scintillation that the gem should emit. We've done our initial setup, so let's have a look at the sequence of the pavilion facets. So the preform will need to be squared out, so we need to set the protractor at 90 degrees and we get a perfect square. You'll see that later on. Then we follow through with the next 2 pavilion facets, cutting them to a center point, and then the tricky part emerges with the rest of the bar facets. They need to be cut evenly. So finally we need to nick 4 corner facets at 90 degrees, so be careful with this, use a 3000 grit disc. So here I'll be squaring out the preform. I'm breaking in a brand new 600 grit disc, so this should go pretty quickly. Now a lot of my subscribers have asked me about the bar cut, whether I could make a video on the bar cut, and I have to admit that I'm no expert at cutting bar cuts. Even though this says it's an easy one, believe me, there is no such thing as an easy bar cut. They're easy to cut when you're using just your standard grinding discs, but they are really difficult to polish because usually they have fairly large surface facets, and the larger the surface facets, the harder it is to polish. So I don't know whether I have any pearls of wisdom how it's easy to facet a bar cut, but let's see how I go. So I've done the squaring out of the gem using the new 600 grit disc, and by look of things there's quite a few scratches. However, I'll just move on to the next step. So I've got the protractor set up at the first cutting angle, which you'll see in the schematics, and I'll cut to a center point. So here you can see that I've cut all 3 bar facets to the correct depth, and then I'll have to move on to cutting some of the side facets of the pavilion, and then I'll nick in the corner facets. So the initial stage of the pavilion facets are all complete, and I've used that 600 grit disc, and it was a new disc, and it's left a few more surface scratches than I would prefer. However, I will deal with that later, but overall cutting these facets went very quick, and I think this is the easy part of cutting this type of gem. Without a doubt, I've found the most difficult aspect about faceting bar designs would have to be the polishing. Quite often you get really long elongated facets, and the larger the gem, the more difficult it becomes to polish. I've tried to avoid using cerium with water these days because I've found once you've polished one row of facets, particularly on the pavilion, you can have it done beautifully, and then you move on to the next row and you get this backwash of water, and it carries the cerium with it, and what happens, it tends to scratch the polished row you've just completed. Anyway, here we have the scenes of all the polished facets. In my opinion, using a metal lap gives you a lot sharper facets. If you're using, say, a perspex or resin based lap, there is probably less likelihood that they would be as sharp. But if there are any experts out there in faceting bar designs, by all means leave some comments or some tips in the comment section, because I'd be interested to hear your thoughts when it comes to cutting and polishing such designs. Incidentally, to polish these facets I used Herco valve oil on a tin lap with 50,000 grit diamond compound. Occasionally I would add an extra drop or two of sewing machine oil just to keep the disc a little bit slick. So we're on to the secondary transfer, and I'm almost ready to start faceting the crown. But before I do that, let's go through the sequences of how the crown is faceted. So we finished the pavilion, as you can see here, and then we do the transfer. So we've got the gem on another dop stick. So we're up to the crown and we cut two very high side facets. Be careful, they will go quick. And then we start with the first set of crown facets, followed through by a very low angle of 18.10 degrees, then the table. So I'm getting ready to cut the two side facets of the crown, and with many of these bar designs the protractor angle is set at a very high range, so you need to be careful with these two side facets that you do not cut through the girdle outline. In the following scenes you'll see that I've cut and polished all the facets of the crown. So this means we're getting closer to the end of another video. So in closing, I would like to thank John from the USA. Thank you for sending me this wonderful piece of lemon quartz. Hopefully I've done a good job and you'll get to see what it looks like, of course, in the final reveal. I would also like to thank my regular subscribers and followers. I know a lot of you people out there love to watch each and every one of my episodes on cutting gemstones. I really appreciate your comments and kind words. For those people, if you've tuned in and you've watched this video for the first time, I'm certainly glad that you could join us and learn the art form of how to cut gemstones. I do understand that this video really doesn't show you everything you need to know in learning how to cut the gem. But if you watch all my previous videos, hopefully you should be able to piece together and get a good idea of how gems are cut. Also, my next video will be a lot different. It should feature Jaws, and for those people who do not know who Jaws is, maybe you need to watch some of my older videos to find out. But it certainly means it will be a lot of fun and the video will be a lot different than this one. In a moment you get to see what this gem looks like in the final reveal. So it's over and out from me. I wish everybody the best. Take care of yourselves. It's bye for now.